Are we okay? We got to fucking... We've got to do the fucking shit that we for fucking drug abuse. No! Are you listening?
Lauren Lynn Armstrong has been and always will be dangerous. Underneath that idiotic 87 exterior lies a rage monster waiting to get out. The monster doesn't need a key to get out of the cage. All it needs is a little bitty crack in the door, a little shining light through the window, and he will find a way to get out. If you happen to be the target, if you happen to be his intended victim, he absolutely will not stop until you or he is too exhausted to continue. Every time something bad happens, Lauren references his past and brings up certain women's names as the source of all of his problems. And one we've heard over and over is Paula. Now, Paula supposedly broke his heart. He gave her all his trust, and she threw it all away. And ever since then, every relationship he's ever tried to have has been hindered and held back by that one name, Paula. Looking back on the experience now, it must have been traumatic. A woman who was an acquaintance of an acquaintance of an acquaintance, who happened to be with a group of people who showed up at the Armstrong household, who happened to say that she was there because she needed support, because she was going through a breakup. And someone there said, "Hey, Roy's brother is single." And ever since he heard that phrase uttered in his presence, Lauren Armstrong knew he was destined to be with Paula. You won't find Paula today, not because she doesn't exist, but because when asked about the situation, someone said, "Oh, you mean the woman who changed her name?" Naturally, one would ask if it was a real name change, but instead, she went by her middle name because it was safer. See, Lauren Armstrong has never been able to read the room. He's never been able to understand human behavior, social interactions, or life in general. So naturally, when someone suggested that since he was single, he should be with Paula, at least that's what he heard, he began his pursuit. They were together, she just didn't know it yet. As we've discussed in the past, Lauren is a collector of information. He hears what he wants to hear, and he will pry, and he will investigate when he finds a potential love interest. So all it takes is to find out where someone works, or where someone's friends live, or where they live. So you can start showing up, calling, leaving messages, more messages, showing up again, until finally your family has to intervene. But you don't want to hear it. You want to keep pursuing that woman you know you are destined to be with. Then, unbeknownst to you, after a few-day breakup, she gets back with her ex. She's cheating on you, and you become enraged. You realize, I'm going to be a virgin for the rest of my life, so I have to do something about this. So you start prying and asking questions, and you want to know, where does this ex live? Where does this ex work? I think I'll call. I think I'll leave messages at his work. I think I'll show up at his work. I think I'll stalk him for a few days, because that makes complete sense, and that's how I'm going to win her back. Now, you don't want to go up and confront him directly, because you'll get smashed. So instead, what you do is have other people intervene. Say your brother, and you have him pass along messages, just like you were in 6th grade. All the while, keeping tabs on where that woman you are destined to be with is at. Unfortunately for you, she doesn't have a steady place to live, so she's staying with friends, and you don't know where those friends live. So you start calling around. You start asking the acquaintances of acquaintances where she lives, but you can't find out. You know where she works though, so it's time to turn it up a notch. Leaving notes on a car is always a good idea, especially when you know that woman loves you. You gave her all your trust, and she betrayed you. She got back with her ex. You were headed to a relationship. You saw it. She didn't see it, but you did, and that's all that matters. Finally, your family intervenes again because those acquaintances have contacted them and asked for their help. But you don't want to hear it. You know things are going to be great when you're finally together. She'll see. There's a confrontation between you and the one-time ex, the guy who's standing in your way. You can't have that. You try to be a man, you try to bow out your chest, but it doesn't work. He punks you out. So you go home and you rage again, to the point where your brother has to tell you to calm down. He has to take away your beer, and you get in a fight with your brother because, hey, that's normal at your house. One night, she decides she's had enough. When she sees your car down the street, driving up and down the road because you don't know the house number, you just know that one of her friends lives over there. And of all the nights, she had to pick that one to be there. Ultimately, this leads to a meeting between her ex, and someone she trusts very much, who's a lot bigger than you are. They show up at your family's house, and they try to talk some sense into you. You just don't understand. You were sure they were supposed to be together. Even when asked for evidence, something substantial to prove that you two were supposed to be together, you don't have an answer. You decide to quit. You decide to stop. But you will forever remember that meeting as the day that woman betrayed you. All of your trust was given, and it was for nothing. So now, every time you try to have a relationship, you can go back to that moment. You can forget all about the stalking, all about the sneakiness, the investigations you did. One can only imagine if Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, if all of that was in place and it was in full swing and you understood how to use it, what a hell that would have been. Strangely enough, all of this occurred about the time you decided you were going to steal a bunch of money and head to Nashville. So one has to wonder, did you flee because you stole the money? Or did you flee because you terrorized a woman who now goes by an alternate first name? Things to ponder. Thanks a lot, Paula.